Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Dynamics GP Coffee Break, Excel Integrations, and Dynamics GP. My name is Katie and I'll be the facilitator today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question area in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen and we'll answer questions at the end. The session will be recorded and posted on our blog as well as shared with you later this week. Now I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Dawn McNulty, who is a solutions architect at Encore. Dawn, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Katie. Good morning all. Thanks for attending this morning. We're going to talk a bit about Excel integrations today. So first off is using Excel with GP. So we've got a number of different ways of doing it, both integrations and reporting. I'm going to show a little bit mostly on the integrations on the inbound transactions coming in from Excel, and a little bit on how to get data out using Excel directly for a little bit more speed than say SmartList does. So we got Excel integrations. There's a couple of places that you can do it out of the box. There's the copy and the paste, which is with the GL and the AP. Those are the two that I'm going to concentrate on today. We can also use Smart Connect, and we can also use Integration Manager, which allows us to do more mapping between larger spreadsheets that are more continuously used. I'm not going to delve a lot into that today, but that is something that we can do for you, and we can help, or we can show you how to do it so that you can move it forward from there. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about Excel reporting, how to get a default smart list out to Excel reports, and how to make very quick changes to those smart lists so that you can get the information that you need, because some of the default ones do not have enough information. Overall, it shouldn't take more than about 20 minutes or so. So we'll move right along and we'll head into the demo from here. All right, so what I've got here is I have GP. So this is what GP looks like, as we all know. And when I go into my financial, which is what I'm going to start with, I'm going to open up my transactions. And I open up a regular GL transaction thing up screen as such. So we can do, the header itself does not get imported. So what we do is we have to key in the header. And then we can paste in all the detailed transactions down below. And we can make those detailed transactions from spreadsheets, which I'll show in a second. So first off, I'm going to go into here. I'm going to type in test, just so I've got a test batch. I'll add the test batch. Save. Today's date is 4/12/2027 for me, because that's what my sample company is all in April of 2027. And then I've got a source, my source is GJ, and then I can type in my reference. Something like reference required. So it's a required field, as you can see, because it's red. My red ones are all the required fields. At this point here, we have the two other description fields, which were added in 18.3, I believe it was, might have been 18.2. Can't remember when they added these. A little bit more information can be typed if you need to. Then we get down to the transactions inside here. Well, what happens in transactions like this one is that we end up with spreadsheets that we do some accumulation of balancing or something like that. So I used a standard like petty cash type thing. I've got receipts in my transactions down inside here. So I'm typing in my expenses inside here. So this is what I've got. I've got an account, a department, and a division. That's my chart of accounts. It actually goes department, account, and division. So what I've done is I've added this as a spreadsheet that I might use on a day-to-day basis. I can add additional things. For instance, in here I can go postage to, like so. I can put it to 6,500, and then I can put it to 300 as well, and I can put it to 00. Now, if you do double zeros and triple zeros, which a lot of firms do, you've got to be careful with Excel, because if I hit enter on that, it's going to enter in the number 0. So I have to put a quote in front of it in order to have the 0 remain. Anything that leads with a 0, you're going to need to make a text field, simply because Excel is like that. So inside here, I can put in $500. Well, let me put in a different number, $250, like so. And now it's got the 5826. This 5826 is there. I need to take this, so I just need to copy this down one more to pick up that extra postage too. So now if I add this one up here, I've got my 5826.50. I've got my 5826.50 here. I'm ready to go. So if I wanted to import this, all I have to do is I need a formatted, which is description first. This is the description that goes on the distribution reference, followed by the account. followed by a debit, followed by a credit. You need all 4 columns. So we click all 4 columns. We just highlight them like so. We hit the Control C or copy. So I'll hit the copy. And then we pop back to GP, back to the transaction, make sure that we're in the bottom, and we hit the paste. There it is there. And you'll notice that these descriptions here have now come in across the board. There's my 250, there's my 40, 46.89, etc., and my 122. I can shrink this down so I don't see the descriptions anymore. And now you can see I've got my balance journal entry ready for petty cash. I can now hit save, and I can then do some more entries inside here if I wanted to do additional entries. This is a simple way of generating a fairly easy long spreadsheet without having to go through the actual screens to enter. This is especially important when you've got working papers that you do in Excel, because you get something at the bottom of an Excel sheet, whether it's a balance of inventory or a balance of AP or whatever, and you need to adjust something. Your transactions are already there with the dollar values in, so you can just put in accounts against them, copy them, and paste them in here so you don't make any mistakes on the way that they come in. Fairly straightforward to do. One thing I did want to mention, which I've had a lot of questions on, which is not part of today, is there is a correct in the copy, so I can copy an old transaction and I can correct a one that I've done backwards. Something that a lot of people fail to try these 2 particular functions. They're very good from that point of view. So that's what it does. So that's how the GL works as we move forward. So then the next question is the AP. So underneath the AP, there are 2 portions to the AP. When I look at a transaction inside accounts payable, bring up transaction entry, here we are here, you'll notice at the top I have a shaded paste at this point. So the one thing that you cannot paste is you cannot paste the vendor. So you can go into here, you have to put a vendor in. So I'm going to put in Ace Travel because he's my favorite guy because he's on the top of my list. He pops up nice and easily. There we are there. So I've now got that. As soon as I hit the Ace Travel, you'll notice that the paste button becomes available. So what I can do now is I can go out to a header and I can paste in the following information. I can paste the description in. Let me just, let me just move this screen to here so we can see them both at the same time. So the description is here. This is where the description is going to go. We've got the purchase amount, that's here, the trade discount, the freight, the miscellaneous, and we have a invoice number, which is the document number, and then we have the PO number. We can also enter the cash number. If I enter the cash number, it automatically opens a secondary screen, which I'll show in a second. So what will happen is we grab this, we go copy. We come back to here, we hit the paste, and there it is there. You'll see miscellaneous travel costs, the document number has been filled in, PO number has been filled in, and the 3 amounts are now sitting here ready to go. Okay? So you'll notice that what I've done is I've used the same distributions here without the 250 that I added before, and these are now going to come down, and this is going to be my distribution. The one thing about it is that if I paste the header first, the distributions are automatically filled in. So you'll notice that the paste is no longer available because the header's been done. So if I want to do this, I'm going to hit delete now. I'm just going to delete this. So what we need to do is we need to get into the distributions. So if I go and hit the distributions, it'll say a vendor must be identified. So we need to add the vendor. Again, I'm going to pick my Ace Travel again. There we are. There's Ace Travel. Once I've got Ace Travel, I can now hit distributions. Get a nice blank screen. It's got a paste at the top. Then I've got the ability here to do an import of the transactions from there. Now these transactions are, you need a line number, however many lines there are, followed by the purchase amount, anything that I put into trade, anything I put into freight, anything I put into miscellaneous needs a GL code attached, and then the payable at the bottom, which is my AP control. So I can grab this here, like so, and I can go copy. And now when I go back to my distributions here and go paste, it has now pasted all of those transactions in there. And if I shrink this down again, as we did before, you'll see there's the 4 purchase lines, trade, the miscellaneous, and the freight that comes through. You can't do taxes with the paste. And the reason that you can't do you can do taxes on your detail side, but you can't do taxes on your header because it opens up additional screens because you have to fill in the tax screen. So now that I've done this, I can go OK, and it's going to come up with an error saying nothing's balanced. Well, that's because I've got nothing but zeros on my header. So when I go OK, I can now go up to the top here. I can now grab my header, go copy, click here and hit the paste, and I fill in the paste. At this point, when I go to distributions and I come back out of distributions, I'll get no error because it's balanced. So this one, I'm not as concerned about the header as I am about the distributions. I usually find that the distributions can save you a lot of time, especially if you've got spreadsheets that do breakouts of percentages for allocations, or this particular one is a 5,700 and it's going to 5 or 6 or 7 different GL codes, and maybe it's going as a percentage this time or a percentage of that, or you're adding your sales tax and you want to take the sales tax and apply it to all the purchases at the right rate based on a weighted average and things like that. Those are types of things that you can write inside your system in order to handle that. So you can do things like that. It's the advantage of it, so that's why we like to show it. So that's kind of what we had to show for the import side. Now from here I can then I can put it in a batch. I can go test, and I can add the batch. And then I can go save, and then I can save this transaction and enter another transaction. Now, obviously, if I wanted to enter this transaction a second time, and I only wanted the header and I wanted to enter everything else myself, I would have to change the document number. If I was to try and paste this document number in, it's going to give me an error message saying that that document already exists because I just imported it. So there we are. So that's how you can do it inside Microsoft Dynamics directly from Excel with a copy paste into those two areas. There is a third area which is now supported, and it came out in, I believe it was 2015, and that is on US payroll imports, which I won't be going through today, but you can bring in your timesheets and things like that into a spreadsheet, get it all balanced, and you can import the timesheets directly into US payroll. But it is not available for Canadian payroll, so I will specify that. Canadian payroll has its own way of doing an integration that you can do inside from a tab delimited file. It's a 26 column import line that you need to fill in. Works very well if you've got it automated, but it's very difficult to write one by one. So I use it in some of my clients who are using it in order to shorten the time it takes to get the quick journal entries into Canadian payroll. All right, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about, which is under Excel reports. So inside GP, we have a function called Excel reports. Now we're all very familiar with SmartList. So when I open up SmartList like this and I click on my financial inside here, and I look at my account transactions, and I just go like this, and I click on the standard default account transactions. What I get is a journal entry, a bunch of information. But what I really need is a bunch of other columns that I want to add. We know that we can add them using the column button, and we can save them as favorites, so we can add the originating master ID and things like that. I have done that for speed purposes under my detailed transactions. So underneath my detailed transactions here, I have a journal entry, a transaction date, the account, the department, and the division, the account number, the account description, etc., and then some series. And then on the far side here, I've got things like originating credit, debit, originating document amount, master ID, master name. This is a reasonably good export that I would want to do. Now, this one I've got 1,000 records showing up here. It takes a while for it to do it. There's about 22,000 records in my database. Okay? So when I look at this and I think to myself, gee, I would really like that in Excel, and I'd like to be able to extract this information every month, every week, every day. The problem that I got is that, if I go like this and I hit refresh, I have to wait here while it counts up. And you'll see that it's counting up, and it's going to stop at 1,000 because I'm not going to wait for it to count to 22,000. as you can see, it takes some time to even get to 10,000, even to 1,000. And then if I hit Excel, as we all know, it takes a while to get all the way out. I'm just going to hit stop. I don't feel like waiting for it. So there it is there. There's a list of all the transactions. I'm good with that. I go, that's great, except that I need 22,000 records. So that's not an efficient way of getting data out. There is a piece called Excel reports. And when we go into Excel reports, what happens is that we come down to here and we go into Excel reports, which is, oops, I'm in payables. Sorry, finance. Hit the Excel reports. It loads up all the Excel reports for us, like so. And then there's my account transactions default report right here. I can double click that. And there it is there. And if I refresh this, because I had it open already, I apologize for not closing it first, but then I go refresh, there you go, it's done. It just did 22,000 records. There you go, 22,951 records. But it's giving me this. What I really like to do is I want to be able to add those additional fields that you saw in SmartList. So I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to grab my row with all my headers. And I'm going to go copy. And this is where it gets a little interesting. So from here, I'm going to just hit the paste here so that we've got a copy of it here. So the first thing I've got it, let me just make this big. There we are, account, department, and division. Now, one of the things about GP is that it renames some of the things based on certain things. So when I look at my columns inside here, you'll see that my original name for account, department, and division is segment 2, segment 3, and segment 1. So I'm going to make the change on this to make this segment 2, segment 3, and segment 1, like so. Because I need those because this is what SQL actually has in the background. So there we are there. So then I can highlight this and say, this is what I'd like to see. So I need to copy this. And then I need to paste it. And I need to paste special. And the reason I need to paste special is I need to transpose it. I need it in this order. Instead of across the thing, I want it down. And the reason that I need it down is that I want to make these into something that I can use as part of my account transaction default screen. I want to add them to here. To add them to here, what we need to do is just go into queries and connections, which takes a second to open. Come on, hurry up. There we go. Then I double click on it, and then I go definition, and I go, I'm going to make this bigger so that you can see it. Like so. And let me just drag this down a bit so that you can see it. You'll see down here I've got journal entry, series, date. You'll notice that they're surrounded by a brackets and end with a comma. So I need to replace all of these with the ones that I have on my spreadsheet here, which is, cancel, which is right here. So what I'm going to do is just do a very quick Excel formula, which is equals, and we put in we want the bracket to open, and then we want this, and then we want our journal entry. Oops. Equals quote greater than, and we want to add the journal entry, and we want to add the closing bracket as well as a comma, like so. So there it is there. Got the journal entry with the bracket. I can copy this down to the bottom here, like so. And then I can just grab all of this and go copy. Go back to my definition here, right there. And then highlight this and go Control V. Now, the one thing I do notice is that I have to take the one bracket off there. And then when I go OK, it's not the same. We go, yes, there we are. It goes out, gets the data, and now I have all my data. That's how you quickly can change a Excel sheet that you currently got into an Excel, into the same as what your SmartList is. The trick is that you must remember two things. One, got to put the commas in after. Two, you have to put in your information for the, you have to put the information into the, as it is in SQL, which is what's the originating field. Okay, so there we are there. So that was what I needed to show you today. As I said, a nice and quick one today from that point of view. And Katie, did we have any questions?
And just a reminder, if anyone does have any questions, to please enter them into the question area in the control panel. To start here, Dawn. So if you always have tax entries on payable transactions, are you really able to use the Excel copy-paste function?
You can use it for the distribution side of it, but you cannot use it for the but you will not be able to use it for the you will not be able to use it for the header. You have to key the header yourself after you've done the import. So what would happen is you would go out to your purchasing, you'd go into transaction entry, you go to here, you go to your ACE travel, and you bring up your vendor, you click on distributions, you grab your distributions, and they can include tax. So they could have a tax number inside here. When I click on distributions, we hit paste. So this one here, let's change that to taxes. So there it is there. So if I do this and then I go OK, we go OK like that. You can't really paste the header because there's no place in the header piece for the tax. I could take this like so and go Control C and then paste this here, right? And tells me, of course, that my transaction's already there. So let me just change this by 1. Control C and go paste like so. I could then take this out, put in the $25 here, and then I'd have to manually key in my tax details. If you need the tax details all the time and you want to do this directly from Excel, you can either use Smart Connect or you can use Integration Manager to do that. Because this is the screen that causes the issues. Because in this screen here, I now have to grab a tax detail, like Canadian GST, and I got to put in my $25 like so that I can go OK. And now that my $25, so now it's all balanced. And now when I go back to here and go OK, I won't get that error message. If I bring in taxes on the back one, I just can't import the tax on the front. So you can use it, but not 100%. Okay? Any other ones, Katie?
I don't see any more questions that have come in, Dawn. For everybody here, I'm going to be adding a link to our events page to the chat if you'd like to check out previous webinars or register for upcoming webinar sessions. I am also going to be adding a link where you can set your email preferences and opt into your email so you can see and know about upcoming events and see our latest blog articles.
Yep.
Don't think we have any more questions today, Dawn.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Thank you all very much for attending. And hopefully this has taught you a little bit more about some of the features that GP has that people don't know about.
Thanks, Dawn, for the information. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.